welcome to episode 5. We're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to do a little bit less forging, and I'm just going to show you some stuff. It's going to be a bit of a show and tell. Recently had some questions, like specific questions about tools and the forge and purchasing items. So I figured I'd take this opportunity to show you some of the tools that I've made. This is just a small sample, just to give you a sort of a broad range, a broad idea of what you can do. These are really rough. They are just specifically my tools. I have absolutely no intention of selling any of these, so they are very rough. But because it's my personal item, it doesn't bother me at all. First off, we're going to start with what you can make your tools out of. This is a piece of leaf spring off of a dump truck. This stuff is pretty good. I'll leave that up there. It's pretty good steel. It is high carbon steel, but what I've done is usually I just cut like half-inch pieces off of this, and that is what they look like. Just a little half-inch slice, 3/4 of an inch maybe. Don't have to be specific. And then I take them, taper out the one end. This is a center punch. See, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it comes up to a fairly fine point there. I've tapered it out, filed off the top. I hardened it in the forge. Very easy to do with this stuff. What you do is you heat it up to a point where it's just becoming red, okay? And then you check it with your magnet. It'll be a little bit past the point where it starts to glow. It will lose its magnetism. Now, that is the perfect temperature to heat treat this. But anyways, what you do, you heat it up, quench it in oil. Specifically, this material is best quenched in oil. You can do it in water, but you will end up with a broken piece every once in a while. Oil is a much slower cool, whereas water cools it down in like 5 or 10 seconds. Oil will take 30 seconds, and that means it's cooling down much slower. When this material cools, it actually contracts, okay? And that is why it breaks, is because it contracts too fast, and a crack will form, and it'll just explode. And I've had that happen before. As I've been spinning this piece around, you may have noticed, I hope I can get this in here very well. If not, I'll put a little picture in. You see a bee on that. This is my next piece. I've created this guy. Same material. When it's not hardened, when it's still soft metal, it's very easy to manipulate, very easy to cut, file, grind. So all I did was I took and I tapered it out just a little bit to make the end square, because the end wasn't square when I started. It was sort of lopsided. Ground down the one side. Let me hold it the same way. Ground down the one side. Filed the center piece. Put the 2 center punches in with another tool. Actually, I'll probably show you in a second. And then I heat treated it, and that's what I used to create that bee. This is a guide pin, but it's just a piece of high carbon steel that I then sanded. I have a belt sander, so I put it in the drill and held it up to the sander, put a point on it, and then I hardened it. And that works extremely well as a center punch. I will be putting a short aluminum handle on it, just to make it easier to hold. Some other really simple stuff I made. this guy here. Sits in the vise. You can bend stuff around. It's a set distance, so you're only going to get like you have a minimum radius you can achieve, but there's no maximum. I do have another one that's made out of 1/4 inch steel that is adjustable. This guy I made for a specific purpose. It sits in the vise. You put your steel rod through and then bend it around. I made that just to create the exact same radius every time. This, although it is extremely ragged and it doesn't look good at all, is actually aluminum. I was planning to make an aluminum dead blow hammer, but kind of fucked it up. I know exactly what I did wrong, and when I need to replace the head on this, I know exactly how to do it to fix that issue. But it's not going anywhere. So I'm just going to use it as it is for now. I'll probably grind this face off a little bit because it's a little ragged. Very simple. All I did was take a piece of steel, weld it to another piece of steel that I then, see if you can see, I flattened the one end and I flattened the other end 90 degrees to it so it locks it in there. And yeah. Now, you might be asking yourself, why don't I just come in and put some more aluminum on there? You can't. If I had a torch, which I don't at the moment because I'm out of oxygen, I'll show you here. If I had a torch, I could come in and melt and then add filler to it. I could just make some simple rods out of the aluminum that I can smelt. And I could just add aluminum to it, and it would take a long time to do, but I could do it. It would be possible, but like I said, I don't have a torch at the moment, so that'll just have to do for now. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to show you a drift. Now what you do with a drift is, let me see here, I do have a round one, a round punch like this, made out of slightly different material. So what you would do is take that round punch, put a hole through your material, okay, and then you use your drift. Actually, this is a piece I screwed up, so I'll show you with this. Imagine this was about 6 inches longer, tapered down to the same taper, so it's much smoother taper. You take and punch a hole, and then you just put this guy in there, hammer through. Because I don't have a hardy hole or a pritchett hole, I think it's called a pritchett hole, I have this guy that I've had around for years and years. I'll show you the holes there. They're different sizes. This is actually a die that I made in college that I never finished. What you would do is then place the material over one of the holes and then punch through, and it would expand that hole. Okay? So, let's build one. Alright, we're going to start with the 1/4 inch round steel. I find this is pretty decent stuff to use, and I do use it quite often. Okay. Again, what I'm doing as I'm hammering it is rotating it 90 degrees. Now if I was holding it with a pair of pliers, I would just go 90 and then back and 90 and back. Because I have it in my hand, I can go all the way around. It makes it for a little bit nicer finish. The difference here, what we're going to do is, instead of just tapering the last inch or two, I'm going to go back probably 6 inches, maybe 4 inches, to get a nice, smooth, gradual taper. hope you can see here, the end of the taper is about there, okay? So I brought it back about 4, maybe 4.5 inches. The longer it is, the better, but that's all I'm going to do today. Now all we got to do, make it round. Alright, let's see here, there's my point. Like I said, the longer you make it, the better it is, but also the smoother the finish, the easier it will slide through your material. So after you've hammered it round, I would recommend at least filing it. Sanding it would be better, or if you have a drill, put it in your drill, spin it up, polish it up that way. That would work too. But this one is done as it's going to be for now. Actually, maybe I'll clean it up just a little more, and then I'm going to cut it off about 2 inches behind the spot where you started that taper, and I'll show you that when I'm about to do it. Okay, as you can see, hopefully, my taper ended, or sort of starts, I guess, right there. Tapers down, and I've put a little cut in it where I'm going to actually break it off. So we'll do that right now. And there we go. Catch that guy. So, not quite finished. I'll show you what we do to finish that up. Now, this is mild steel, okay? You don't need anything more than mild steel for this, because when you're working with it, it's going to be, the material is going to be red hot. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that because it's mild steel, it's going to suck up that heat and become really soft really easily. So what you're going to have to do is put it in the hole, hammer it 2 or 3 times, quench it, okay? Put it back in the hole, hammer it, meanwhile keeping an eye on the temperature of the material you're working on. All we need to do to finish this guy up is taper the back end slightly. It doesn't need to be anything super, and the reason for that is because as you're driving it through the hole, the top is going to flare out, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. A little exaggerated. This is my chisel, my cutter, whatever you want to call it, and after years and years of hammering, this top has flared out. Now, if this were a drift, it's going to go through the hole and then stop. You're not going to get it any further because it's now larger. So, you taper that top down to give it a little bit of extra life. When it starts to flare out, you just pop it back in the forge, taper it down again, and you're golden. And there it is, all finished. Well, not quite finished. I still gotta polish it up a little bit. Just clean up that end a little bit. And it looks to have a little bit of a bow in it. That's weird. But there it is. You don't need to have a point on this end because you're going to create a hole, and this is just going to slide through the hole. But yeah, normally these would be about another 3 inches longer. But I just wanted to show you the basics. Now you guys Have yourselves a good day.